Welcome to Coach Soul, the podcast where we explore therapeutic ways to the best versions of ourselves. I'm your host, Steve Hudgins. I'm a licensed professional counselor dedicated to helping you navigate life's challenges. In each uplifting episode, we'll discuss mental health, relationships, self-care, emotional well-being, and personal growth. Join me and with my co-host, Kenya Evelyn, a therapeutic life coach, where sometimes we'll even welcome special guests to our show that share their experience and expertise. So let's embark on this transformative path together and discover a healthier and happier you. All right, welcome back to Coach Soul. Kenya, it is, is it bah humbug or a ho 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 time?
Woo! I love December. I love December. I remember the first time I saw snow, and I can't wait to be able to play in snow again. Coming from Brazil, never seen the fluffiness, the peaceful white everywhere. All I can think about is, when are we going to receive snow? And as you know, I'm in Tennessee, so it's not like it snows a lot like Colorado and other places. And at the same time, my son's birthday's coming up, Krista's coming up, and now I'm reminded of just being in my body, in my field, to be neighborly with me first so I can really take care of me, to have a smooth, gorgeous, yummy December versus not,
right,
running like chicken without a head and buying all the gifts. By now I'm totally done. Like, I have already bought my gifts. I'm an early shopper. And I'm happy to say that this year I did things more manually. So I have crafts that I've done with my kids and things to, that have our frequency, that has our loving frequency, like handmade cards and handmade scarves. Mm-hmm. Because in the end of the day, with the state of the world, I get to remind our listeners, we get to remind our listeners that it is the state of your heart, is the state of your inner being that creates a reality that you feel good about, that you feel centered, that you feel like it's your life. And you're happy.
How is it, as a kid, we enjoy Christmas, and it's the next day and we're opening up presents and we're so happy. And, growing up, I grew up mainly in San Antonio. Dad was in the Air Force. We were stationed at Lackland Air Force Base. We call it hell hot, and it snowed. Right. There's a couple of occasions that it snowed, and it was like, okay, what's this powdery stuff? And I remember building a small snowman. Right. But then Dad got an assignment and we go to Hell Freezes Over, South Dakota. Wow. So too much snow. And it's like, okay, how do you find that contentment, that joy when things change in your life that drastically? You go from hell hot to hell freezes over. And sometimes that's the way our life feels in the time of Christmas, because we feel that pressure to buy that gift. We feel that pressure because of the economy. We feel the pressure to people please. And often we turn inward and we feel like we have nothing to give. So what are some things?
Yes, I love that you put it that way, because as within, so without, as outward as inward, and hot and cold is the perfect mirror of polarity. And sometimes we can be hot and cold in the same hour. If you're a woman, you know what I'm talking about. Hello. Hi. How are you doing today? How are you being? Yes. So for me is the openness to really own that I create my life in spite of circumstances, because I have zero control over my circumstances. And yes, I'm going to go deeper with Steve, y'all. When I say I create my life, I mean, am I in reaction or am I in creation? Am I in contentment for what is, knowing that everything is a gift, because it is. If you have a banquet or if you have a piece of bread, they're both gifts.
Right.
And for those that are more grateful, it's not that God likes giving things for people that are more grateful. No, I heard that all my life and I actually don't believe that at all. But energetically, you attract the frequency you emit. So if I have 2 kids, and you can call it 2 adults too, and one, you give a sweater and they roll their eyes and say, oh, another sweater. And the other one opens the same sweater and say, oh my gosh, a sweater?
Right.
And you watch both. Are you going to be more inclined to give more gifts to who? So I'm thinking that God, because I call it God and I believe in the creator of the universe, but you can call it universe. I don't care. If he's giving everything because he does, the things, the squeezy moments, the crunchy moments, and the connection moments, it's all for the greater good of your expansion as I see it. I'm not saying this is a final dot in everybody's sentence. It is in my sentence. Sure. I believe that everything that happened in my life is for me, is for my greater good, or for my deeper understanding. Even, especially, may I just correct that? I take it back to even, especially the darker moments. Especially the darker moments, because I got to find my light with God. So I don't know where my listeners are now, our listeners. Maybe you are in that darkness and you feel like I don't see it. I don't see it. Help me to see it. That will actually be my question. If you don't see the why, if you don't see the excitement, if you don't see the connection, if you don't, whatever is the word that will complete the sentence in a way that is authentic to you, please remember you're not alone. The shadow is separation. The shadow is loneliness. The shadow is, one more December, or I don't have any money for gifts, or maybe you're not. Maybe you're in a really great state and you just want to give. Amazing. Any way that you are in the spectrum, just know that the biggest giving is not financially. I did say that, Steve.
I totally agree. It's about it's about serving.
100%.
It's when we look at how can we serve. We may not have that gift, but what are ways that we can serve one another to be able to provide that joy? And I think there is a caveat that clouds our judgment and our giving and the disparity that we are. And it's what I call the word expectation.
Yes.
I expect that what I give to you, Kenya, you're going to be, oh my gosh, I'm so thrilled that I buy this for her. And I know she's so excited and she's going to be excited because this is what she needs. And then the day comes and you open and it's like, what's this? And it's like, that dampens my mood. But that's expectation we placed on a gift. When a gift, there should be no expectation. It's a gift, yes, whether you like it or not. And so it's learning, how do we become content in our serving when the economy is bad, when we don't feel like we have enough money, we lost a job, we lost a loved one, and it just seems like the negativity outweighs the positivity. Mm-hmm. And so what would be helpful is, what are some ways that we are able to help our listeners? Because even in Christianity, there's that Christian lie that God gives us no more than we can handle. 100%. Well, I want to remind our Christian community and those of our listeners that I disagree with that, because in 2 Corinthians chapter 1, verses 8 and 10, Paul talks about They were so great under pressure that it was far beyond their ability to endure. And I love what Paul had to say. So that we despaired life itself, that we felt we had received the sentence of death. But this happened that we might not rely on ourselves, but from God.
Yes.
And so often I think that we think that, oh my gosh, we're getting too much here, you know? Yes. So go ahead.
Yes. So for me, answering your question, it's all about connection. How do you be in the contentment, regardless of what's going on in the world, in the finances, in the politics, in your own home, is about connection and intimacy. Let's all talk about intimacy in another podcast. But literally, I'm just going to give you a nugget, dear listeners. Intimacy is the connection. It starts, it's not is. Intimacy is the connection that you start within yourself. Like you're intimate with yourself. You tell the truth to yourself. You guide yourself by allowing God, because I'm a woman of faith, allowing God to show you the places that you need to see versus shoveling down an avoidment. Because let me tell you, you will feel triggered if you are in avoidance. Because you want other people to save you. You want other people to do the stuff for you. You want other people to know how to answer things correctly. You know other people. I can go on and on and on. Which that avoidance, it's also victim mentality. January, we talked about victim mentality. We're in December now. Leadership. We can never not talk about leadership. Because leadership is being the ultimate student. You are the lead student. You are the lead student. That's what leadership really is in our core, in its core. In my opinion, everything I say is in my opinion. Yes, I have deep studies around it, but it's still my opinion. It's from my lenses, from where I am seated. And my goodness, if you want to be safe, it's not about the government. Come on. If you really want to feel safe, be a better neighbor. Do you know why? Because when we travel, they're watching over our home. If you're a good neighbor in your community, in your school, in your homeschool tutorial, in your church community, in your friendships, they will take care of you. You take care of it's an unspoken rule of give and receive. But if you don't feel safe, guess what you do? You isolate.
Right.
I isolate my finances. I don't open my letters because I'm afraid it's going to be more bills. You start isolated in every area of your life. Whether you are, regardless if you're married or single, you isolate in your relationship. You isolate in your true self. You go out on the streets with masks. That's a way of isolation, which is survival. Come on now, Steve. The running survival show that keeps you enslaved. The opposite of freedom.
You know, Kenya, it's easy for you and I, or what seems easy, I should say, is that because of our journey in the path that our Damascus roads that put us to in enlightenment to God. You know, what about our listeners that don't believe in a God and they isolate? What are some things that in Transform Mind that you do that can help them to be able not to feel isolated?
Steve, I was about to scream in public. I was like, ah! I'm so grateful you said. It seems that, you corrected, because it's not easy. It's never easy. Oh my gosh. Every day is a choice of getting out of bed. Some days I have more energy than others. I mean, are you kidding me? It's never easy. And if life was a breeze, then I don't know if we would be this, at least for me, I'm going to speak for me. If life had been a breeze for me, if I have not been in the places I have been, I couldn't have this conversation with you. I really, maybe I would be a little bit more, a lot more disconnected, not a little bit, a lot more, my gosh, maybe even untitled. I don't know how to find the right words to describe this in English. I really feel that I don't know how I would have been if I have been the places I have been, which tells me doesn't matter how much education, certification, PhD, marriages, or if you're in one married, the lessons are continue.
Right.
And if you don't believe in God, hang with me, you believe in something. I'll go deeper. If you don't believe in God, you're searching for something. You're seeking something. And what you're seeking is seeking you. I'm not just quoting. I'm just telling you. If you have a desire that's pulling you forward, no, it must be more to life than this. Great, there is. It must be more to love than this. Great, there is. That desire itself, it's opening up a light in your field, in your body field, in your energetic field, in your heart, a possibility in your brain that there's so much more for you here. And then more has to do with fulfillment, wholeness, contentment, which you will only find in a spiritual path because you're spiritual beings having an earthly experience. This is why it's so comical for me. December, we go on a shopping spree, whether you have money or not, you feel like you have to.
Have to spend, right?
We forget that we're spiritual beings. The only reason that I give gifts, can I just say that?
Yeah.
Because I love seeing the people receiving it. Mm-hmm. So for me, it's a spiritual experience. It's not about my ego that in the past it was, dear listeners, in the past it was, I wanted to feel like I was the mom that could afford the bike. Okay. I was happy. Yeah, I did the bike. That's what he really wanted. Now it's like, wow, I just love giving because I watched seeing them receiving.
Yes. When things get hard, it's difficult to be content. And I finally figured out, as you were trying to talk about a variety of different things in our topic here, I just finally figured out that what we try to do is problem solve. And I believe that when we look at life's complexity as not a puzzle to be solved, but it's a tapestry to be woven. So when we embrace each thread of experience, both the light and the dark, and we can find beauty in the intricate patterns they create.
Beautiful.
And so oftentimes we're in the making of this blanket, so to speak, of the threads of light and dark, that if we just step back, there are so much different intricate patterns that we can see. That's a woven blanket, like in fall, with all the leaves and the trees. Just how they exuberate life, even though it's changing the seasons. And I think if we are able to accept the change in the season that we're in, things are going to be different.
Agreed. So what I heard was dropping the resistance.
Yes.
To change. And
right.
Dear listeners, you're human. Your reptilian brain will always tell you, don't change. Literally, don't change.
Right.
If you are recognizing, if you hear this podcast, you're listening and you say, you know what? Ooh, that is so me. I'm so resistant to change. I will start training your brain to change. By the way, if you have a kid, you're probably trained because they change all the time. You think you have a kid one day, they wake up and they're a different kid. Anywho, yeah, how about in this Christmas season, you change something around your room, like literally bring fresh flowers or bring something to train yourself that change is beautiful. What if change is beautiful? What if changing means for the best? What if changing means more trust?
Mm-hmm.
Because you can't really know what's happening in every second of the moment, or else you wouldn't need faith. So the practice here is faith, faith in yourself, faith in God, faith in your peers, faith in your power.
And my acronym for faith, F is forging, A is attitude, the I is in, the T is trusting, H is in him. So it's forging an attitude and trusting him. And so oftentimes that we feel like I've got to fix it or it's not going to work. But we feel down when something doesn't work and we don't want to try it again. So it's learning that maybe where we're trying is not the right place to try. In other words, why are you putting a peach seed in a ground that is rocky soil? It may not grow.
Ooh, so good. I have a different perspective, and this is why we have this podcast. Yes, for the soil. And let me ask you this, Steve. Are you the same person you were the last podcast we recorded?
Probably not. No.
Every second, every breath, if we're allowing the expansion to occur, we're shifting.
Yes.
So maybe you do have the same seeds and it is the same soil, but it's in a different time. You're a different person. The only way we can actually be present in December 2024 and be different than December 2023 and December 2022 and December, is that if we allow this moment to actually be new versus, oh, I know what's going to happen. I already did that. It didn't work. How many of you can see yourself in that? I already did that. The result was XYZ, but this is a new moment. Anytime you catch yourself saying that didn't work for me, Steve. You know what, Kenya? That sounds nice. Maybe it works for you. Well, here's my prayer. My prayer right now. We pray that in this moment you are open to have a fresh moment. In this moment you are open for this moment to be new. Or else you will continue to copy and paste from the past. And you already know how it's going to be the next moment. It's going to be just like the previous.
Right.
So I do believe that environment highly influences our levels of joy, happiness, safety. It's true. Environment does influence. We have seen this in every level of personal development, spiritual development, scientist, right? You put the same cell in a different environment, colder, hotter, happiness with music, with different kind of frequencies, they grow differently. I get it. Yet you're not a cell. You are trillions, gazillions, billions of cells. And you are a thinking, feeling, spiritual being that you don't even know how much of you actually are capable of. And if you're open to know a little bit more of you, be open to be different, to be more expensive. Be grateful for what is. What if?
Kenya, it's when you think about metamorphosis, I have that on a blog somewhere. Metamorphosis is like a butterfly that, went from a caterpillar into a butterfly. I love August and September, the flight of the monarchs. And monarchs are so beautiful for me, And when you think about the butterfly and the hardships that it goes through, it's learning how do we endure the challenges that we have. We're going to have these hard times. So for me, I had to learn how to be content.
Yes.
I'm not the same person that I was 20 something years ago. I learned behaviors that were not adequate for me growing up. And it hurt a marriage type thing that it created infidelity, not on my part, but her part. But because of where I was as a male, it pushed her to a point to seek something else somewhere else. but I've learned how to make some changes within me to be able to come where I am full circle today, to take the knowledge of being able to become better so that it can influence other people. I recognize my past. I own my past. Okay. But the present moment is where I focus because I'm a lot happier. I'm content. I learned how to strive and thrive through the hardships. And Christmas is a time to be able to celebrate the end of the year.
So I want to give a gift to our listeners today. It's not just information. It's actually a process that you can, just listening right now, you can tap into my words. You can tap into our words. And really allow the truth to expand in your heart. What if you're in the right place, in the right time? What if you already knew? What if I, speak in the first person, what if I already knew everything I need to know right now? What if there's nothing missing? What if there's nothing broken? What if I am deeply connected? What if I'm deeply connected now? And I thank God and the angels, the Holy Spirit. I believe I am. And so it is. Amen.
And so until next time, Kenya, I hate to do it. We have such great conversations, and I know it bugs our listeners and things like that, but that's what keeps them coming back. And I enjoy our conversations. And until next time, take care and God bless.
Love you so much.
Thank you for tuning in to today's episode on Coach Soul. As we wrap up, we want to remind our listeners of a few key points. This podcast is for informational purposes only and does not substitute professional medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment. The content shared here is based on professional opinion but may not apply to everyone's situation. Always consult with a qualified healthcare provider before making changes to your mental health care. If you're in a crisis, please seek immediate professional help or contact a crisis hotline. Listening to this podcast does not create a therapist-client relationship. For personal advice, please consult with your licensed mental health professional in your area. Remember, your mental health journey is unique. While we hope this information is helpful, it is crucial to work directly with the qualified personnel for your specific needs. Thank you again for tuning in to Coach Soul, and we'll see you next time.